What was the dumbest thing you got punished for at school? 2 kids got into a fist fight and I was given a detention because I was in close proximity to them when the fight started. They even told the teacher I had nothing to do with it. But she didn't listen. I've always referred to it as the proximity detention. A teacher once told me I looked at her funny in elementary school and my parents got a phone call saying that I had been rude to a teacher. I still, at 31 years old, have no idea what the FCK I did to piss this teacher off. Back in middle I never got in trouble. Except for this one time when I got my work done faster than everyone else. So I got sent to detention because the teacher thought I wasn't doing anything. The funny thing is when I arrived, even the administrator watching the detention students had a shocked look on their face because they would have never expected me in there. They ended up just telling me to go back to class 30 minutes later. String cheese. Amazingly, my kindergarten teacher never knew about this incredibly common food. So she kept me in for recess because I was playing with my string cheese. I'm not going to bite into it like a barbarian, Mrs. Harris. I'm in my 30s and I don't care, I'll still peel my string cheese. Found out my girlfriend just bites into it. She's a monster. Also when eating dips she will take multiple chips and sticks them in the dip so she doesn't have to reach in the bag as often. I mean I get it. But it doesn't mean I like it. When I was 5 at a public Christian school, some random ass 5th grade girl just decided to sock me in the gut for some reason. I told the recess duty and she deadass yelled at me for interrupting her quiet time and made me sit for the rest of recess. Someone sneezed and I said bless you. Disrupting class 1 hour detention. Was fighting back against people who were beating the shit out of me. I was suspended for moving out of the way when a couple guys thought one could hold my legs while the other climbed on a desk and dropped elbow first into me. The guy slammed elbow first into the concrete floor and broke his arm. Apparently this was my fault as I didn't cushion his fall. Sharpened a crayon in a pencil sharpener in 1st grade. Lost recess and the principal called my mom. Mom was not amused. Yelled at the principal for interrupting her workday for a minor offense. Said that sharpening a crayon was hardly the first step towards juvenile delinquency. Double quote. Was it one of those incredibly waxy crayons and a mechanical sharpener? In which case sharpening the crayon would have basically broken the sharpener? Because that's the only way I could understand this situation at all. Still, that would have called only for scolding the kid. Not making it a whole thing. The way I walked to my chair. Teacher told me to walk correctly and I told her I was. Then I stuck my tongue out. I was in kindergarten. She turned my chair to the wall. Then I got in trouble again when she told me to turn back around and I said I'd rather look at the wall. Trading Pokemon cards in 8th grade. It was considered gang activity. Any group that had 5 or more people was considered a gang and banned. School was dumb. In 1st grade me and my friends got in trouble for trading trash packs because according to teachers it could lead to problems if an unfair trade occurs. All trash packs were then banned. Also I'm really not sure if trash packs were as popular around the world as they were at my school. But basically they're small rubber figurines that had different rarities that you would trade with your friends. A guy in my chemistry class was making fun of people reading. He said books were stupid. I said, well, that's fair if the only thing you've read was The Pokey Little Puppy. Double quote. Got pulled into the assistant principal's office the next day. I was told that just because you think something doesn't mean you have to say it. I still wonder how that comment escalated so fast. She made a mistake that resulted in me failing a test. Then she accused me of trying to cheat and lie to her. And punished me for it. When you're an adult and this happens to you it's no big deal, it's just another asshole you have to deal with. But it's very different when you're a child that trusts and respects authority. For turning in my project by myself. My teacher said it was unfair to others. Even though she was aware that I did the project by myself. And the cherry on the top? Her son was in my group as well and he did absolutely nothing at all. In 1st grade. I used to finish a lot of the in-class math work well ahead of everyone else. And my teacher's response would be to put me in the class closet so I would not bother the other students. This went on for about 6 months before I told my parents. At which point the teacher was promptly fired. I didn't understand it wasn't normal at the time. I got detention because I dropped a kumquat on the floor and my friend ate it. She then told the teacher, in tears, that we forced it down her throat. I got in trouble for having long hair. At a Catholic school. Where the main person looks like a stoner who is not into drugs. One of my history teachers at school put me in the middle of 2 childish troublemakers on a 3-person desk and they used to fight over me. All because I was the quiet one in the class. When I look back, I was partly punished by her for being shy and quiet. Which was very unfair and terrible teaching from a teacher. Something like that happened to me in 2nd grade, and when the troublemakers were fighting over me I got in trouble for disturbing the class even though I didn't even say a word. People said I was racist for telling an Asian kid he had the personality of a spaghettio and I got a write-up. That's a compliment. Not an insult. Spaghettios are fun, interesting, and kind. That's a better personality than a lot of people I know. In 1st grade I said son of a gun and my teacher swore I said son of a BTCH. So I was written an infraction to be signed by my parents. Edit. BTCH wasn't even in my vocabulary back then. But it sure as hell was after the ass hopping I got that night. Was wearing a red shirt. Reminds me of my HS's very brief no crazy hair color rule that included red and black. Watching grown adults debate over the authenticity of natural red hair was extremely depressing. Also, one kid with natural jet black hair got in trouble first for his natural hair and then a second time for bleaching it white in retaliation. Lol, we had the dumbest rules. Recess supervisor yelled at me to leave her alone because nobody likes a tattletale. I was 8 years old and had went to her for help because some bullies who'd been tormenting me for most of the year had seriously hurt me. 20 years later my spine is still having problems from those little jerks. Culminated with the principal bringing me in and trying to expel me for the bullying. I hadn't even fought back. Just ran. Pimping out a 1st grader. Not middle school. But 1st grade. I, quite shockingly, discovered that a girl in my class, 1st grade, didn't have a penis. Naturally, I wanted to share this information with my friends. The first batch of my friends didn't believe me. So I asked that girl to demonstrate lack of penis. She only liked me so she was quite hesitant until I offered her some bubble gum and candies. Being a business oriented person from the very early age, and wanting to finish the day on the plus side, I offered another batch of friends to show a person without a penis. I asked that each gives me some gum and candy. Toys were accepted too. So, with the assets I collected from the second batch of my friends, I approached a girl again and offered her some more candy. The lack of penis was demonstrated again, and everyone was happy. The next day I continued offering people to show a person without a penis for some more candy. That was quite a profitable arrangement. To be honest. That continued for a week. I accumulated quite a large pile of candy, toys, and other valuables. One day a very unhappy looking teacher approached me and asked to follow her to the principal's office. Her parents and my parents were there. That was the most uncomfortable meeting I have ever had in my almost 30 years. Got a detention slip in high school because I was wearing a sweatshirt with the logo of the school on it, but it was too big of a logo. This is a Catholic high school and apparently the rule is that the logo needs to be small and on the corner of the shirt, which there wasn't a lot of school apparel like that anyway. I showed the dean of students this because I've never gotten in trouble before. And he pretty much let me volunteer at some school function in order for me not to serve it. They changed the school apparel policy back to larger school logos after I graduated. The entire grade, 60 of us, got punished because 2 or 3 boys had been running down the street on our way back to school from an excursion, ringing random doorbells. We were all forced to stay after school for half an hour. Collective punishment. Illegal under the Geneva Convention. I tried to argue that in my high school. However, they maintained that we were not enemy combatants and thus had fewer rights. I got a detention for laughing. We were lined up waiting for the teacher to go into class. Teacher walks up, stops, grabs me and says detention after school and wrote up a detention slip. I asked why and he said class disruption. I said you weren't here and we weren't in class. I got another detention. During the geography lesson I said that the river Nile is a river. My techer said that I'm wrong and it is delta. I argued back and asked that if Nile is just a delta, then what is the actual river called then? The teacher wouldn't answer and I kept insisting that she tells me what the river is named then. After a few minutes of arguing back and forth, she removed me from the class and gave me 3 hours of detention for contemptuous behavior. I had to write a report on Native Americans in 4th grade. We were never taught about plagiarism, so I copied some sentences from websites. I got in trouble, understandable, but was given the chance to redo it. I went home and rewrote most of the paper, including each copied sentence, and didn't use the internet at all. I take it back to the teacher the next day. She keeps me in for recess and explains that I still plagiarized because I had a word-for-word sentence in my report from this website she found. I had never used that website she showed me. I tried to explain but she gave me a 0 on the report and I had to stay inside for recess, which hurt my little 4th grade heart. I still get pissed off thinking about this. In grade 9 I got detention for needing to use a bathroom more than 3 times in one semester for one class. I am a girl and girls need to use the washroom a lot at certain times, so this rule was completely useless and stupid. I learned to read at 4 from my babysitter. So in kindergarten, we had an activity book and there was a teddy bear to draw. The teacher told us to color it blue, but it was written to color it yellow in the book. So I did yellow. I got scolded for knowing how to read. I got punished in kindergarten for being able to write in cursive, because they hadn't taught us that yet, and it's showing off that I know something they didn't. I am a diabetic. I was punished for having low blood sugars in class. It was always the same teacher that would have a fit over it. He claimed I did this intentionally to get out of work. Yeah hun, see how fun it is feeling like your heart is gonna rip through your guts as you black out. I didn't exactly get punished for it, but earlier this year, like February, I had these like 3 tiny blue sparkly strands in my hair and they weren't that easy to see and they seemed pretty bothered about them, while some people get away with like red dip dye. Skipping class to work on a group project for another class. We got permission ahead of time from the teacher whose class we skipped. And we were in the room we told her we would be in working on the project. And she still wrote us up. Having a penis. Some weirdo left a horror in the boys' room. Their solution was to keep every boy inside, at every recess, until someone confessed. The girls were not subjected to this, because while the perpetrator was obviously capable of crimes against man and nature, surely they obeyed the bathroom signs. For stretching my legs. I am 6, 8 and 15. Ask for proof, and my legs are like 2 times taller than the bench, so I can't have them like a normal person. This crazy BTCH got wild when I said that I just don't fit. I got my parents called and we were all laughing when I returned home. I was slightly too far from the trash can, so I leaned out of my desk and tossed a scrap of paper about 6 inches into the trash. My 6th grade teacher stopped class to admonish me for throwing things around the room, and made me crawl on my hands and knees to pick up every piece of trash on the floor. I told my parents she just hates children. They told me I was crazy. But after they came home from parent-teacher night, my mom said, "Holy shit. You were right. She really just hates children. Woman had issues and did not belong in a classroom." I threw a snowball at another student. Great shot. Right in the face. Apparently snowball fights are frowned upon. I got pulled from class all day to sit in a room and think about what I did. They also sent a letter to my parents. On balance it felt like serious overkill. My poor mother was baffled by the response. Not me. But before one lesson someone trapped 2 guys in a wardrobe. At the beginning they wanted to hide there, but he blocked them when they wanted to go out. During the lesson they managed to go out and were punished. The guy that blocked them was not. All from the same teacher, by the way. For biting a pencil. For looking at her funny, and she separated a friend group of mine for no reason whatsoever. Basically she was always on my case about something small or obscure that makes no sense for punishing me for. For the first few years of elementary school, I went to a Catholic private school. One day during religion class, little 6-year-old me was bored out of her mind and decided to look at the decorations on the ceiling. The teacher then proceeded to yell at me for rolling my eyes. When I was in 3rd grade, it was bathroom time and my friend lit a box on fire. The box was placed over the toilet seat to say it was out of order. But I got in trouble because I didn't stop my friend because I was on the other toilet taking a number 2 and smelled the fire, but I dropped a load before going to report it to the teacher. I cried because the teacher was yelling at me for not taking it more serious. The only thing on my mind really was that I wasn't going to leave the bathroom with crap all down my pants again.